Who the devil are you? What do you think you're doing? What the hell are you doing on my property, do you hear me? Who are you?
Sir Robert Norberton, I believe. I have a question to ask you. Who is this within the coffin? What is this body doing here?
How came you to know of this? What business is it of yours?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. Possibly it's familiar to you. In any case, my business is that of every other good citizen to uphold the law. It seems to me that you have much to answer for.
Before God, Mr. Holmes, I swear to you that it is not as it seems. Appearances are against me, I admit, but I could act no otherwise.
I should be happy to think so, but I fear your explanations must be for the police.
Well, if it must be, it must be. Come up to the house with me, and you can judge for yourself how the matter stands.
So, what do you suppose Sir Robert means to do now?
To present us with the justification of his strange conduct, Watson. What else?
Do you believe that he murdered his sister? That was Lady Beatrice in the coffin, I take it.
Oh, most certainly. As for his guilt, I prefer to reserve my judgment till I've heard what he has to say. But mark my words, Sir Robert is a desperate man. He's prepared to take any course that will save him. And I suspect that he would not stop short of murder.
I refuse to be dragged into this. There's nothing to do with me.
If you know what's good for you, you'll do as Sir Robert says.
For God's sake, keep quiet, both of you, until I've had my say.
Who are these people, Sir Robert? And what have they to do with the case?
They are Mr. and Mrs. Norlett. Mrs. Norlett, under a maiden name of Evans, has for some years been my sister's confidential maid.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Evening.
I've decided that my best, indeed my only course, is to explain the true position to you, Mr. Holmes. And these are the only two people on earth who can substantiate what I say.
I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't my idea.
Will you hold your tongue?
I will take all the responsibility upon myself, Norlett. And you have nothing to fear.
You've left it a bit late to tell me that.
You've gone pretty deeply into my affairs, Mr. Holmes, or I should have not found you where I did. Now, how the devil you came to be there, I cannot imagine.
You obviously know very little of my colleague's reputation, Sir Robert.
I know that you're running a dark horse for the Derby, Sir Robert, and that you've staked everything upon it.
I've staked my life upon it, Mr. Holmes. If I win, all is easy.
And if you lose?
I dare not think of it. I cannot think of it.
We understand all that very well, Sir Robert.
I am dependent upon my sister, Lady Beatrice, for everything. For the estate, for the horses, for the very clothes on my back. But you must understand that her interest in the estate and in the Falder fortune is for her lifetime only.
For her own lifetime, yes.
It has always been my greatest fear that if my sister were to die, my creditors would be onto the estate like a flock of vultures. Everything would be seized on, my stables, my horses, everything. Well, Mr. Holmes, my sister did die just a week ago.
And you told no one?
What could I do? I was faced with absolute ruin. If I could only stave things off for 3 weeks, everything would be well. My sister's maid's husband, this man here, is an actor.
I told you I won't be dragged into this.
It came into our heads.
I had nothing whatever to do with it. It wasn't my idea.
It came into my head that he could, for that short period, impersonate my sister. It was but a case of appearing daily in the carriage.
No one else ever saw her, you see, except for me.
What was the cause of your sister's death, Sir Robert?
She died of dropsy, Dr. Watson. She'd been suffering from it for years.
That'll be a matter for the coroner to decide. So what did you do?
The body could not remain here at Shoscombe. On the first night, Norlett and I carried it into the old well house, which is now never used.
He forced me into it. I had no wish to be party to such a
Silence,
thing.
man.
Unfortunately, her pet spaniel refused to leave her side and wailed so piteously that it was essential to get rid of it as quickly as possible.
And so you gave it to the landlord of the Green Dragon.
There seems to be precious little that you two haven't discovered. After I disposed of the dog, we carried the body by night to the old Falder crypt. There was no indignity or irreverence. I do not feel that I have wronged the dead.
Your conduct seems to me to be inexcusable, Sir Robert.
It's easy to preach, Mr. Holmes.
You shovel your poor sister away in a stinking vault without ceremony.
It is still consecrated ground, Doctor, and it seemed no dishonor to give her a temporary resting place in the coffin of one of her husband's ancestors.
May I say something?
Yes, Mrs. Norland.
I am certain that Lady Beatrice would have borne Sir Robert no ill will for what he has done. She would not have wished to see shame and ruin fall upon him. I know that she would have understood.
Thank you, Carrie.
Continue your story, Sir Robert.
We opened up one of the coffins and removed the contents.
The remains of Ralph de Folder, I believe.
It did not seem to me to matter much who it was. We placed my sister in the coffin, as you discovered. As to the old relics which we had taken out, Norlet and I removed them, and he burned them in the furnace beneath my sister's room.
I was only doing what he told me to, Mr.
And he
Holmes.
promised to pay you handsomely, I have no doubt. But there is one flaw in your narrative, Sir Robert. Your bets on the race, and therefore your hopes for the future, would have held good even if your creditors had seized the estate.
No, Mr. Holmes. The horse itself would be part of the estate. Shoscombe Prince would go along with everything else. And what do my creditors care for my bets? As likely as not, they would not run the horse at all. My chief creditor is, unhappily, my most bitter enemy, a rascally fellow, Sam Brewer.
The man you took a horsewhip to on Newmarket Heath.
The very same, Doctor. Do you suppose that he would try to save me?
Well, Sir Robert, this matter must, of course, be referred to the police. It was my duty to bring the facts to light, and there I must leave it.
But surely, Mr. Holmes, you must understand...
As to the morality or decency of your own conduct, it's not for me to express an opinion.
But if news of this should get about before the Derby, I shall be ruined.
Surely, Mr. Holmes, you must see that the least hint of a scandal of this kind would be certain to make Sir Robert's creditors foreclose on him. Nothing can harm Lady Beatrice now, and the poor wretch who was shovelled out of his grave has been dead for 500 years. Can you not hold your hand until after the race?
The law must take its course, Mrs. Norland. But it would give me no satisfaction to see Sir Robert ruined. My report on these strange proceedings will fall on the Commissioner's desk the day after the Derby. But have a care, Sir Robert. I am not unknown to the police. The least word from me may influence the outcome for good or ill.
I've learnt my lesson, Mr. Holmes, and I am very grateful. You have been most understanding.
Then, as it's nearly midnight, I think, Watson, that we'll make our way back to our humble lodging. The outcome rests in the hands of fortune, Sir Robert.
Oh, sprig of lavender, sir.
No, thank you.
It'll bring you good luck, sir. Never fails.
No.
You'll regret it if you don't. Who knows what nasty fate might catch up with you. Go on, sir. Only a penny.
Oh, very well. Here.
Let me pin it to your coat. May fortune smile upon you, sir.
Dr. Watson! Dr. Watson!
Mr. Mason!
Come to see the case through to the end, eh?
Nothing of the kind. I'll have you know, Mr. Mason, that I've attended every derby for the last 10 years.
Hi. Is Mr. Holmes here?
No, it seems he had to attend a highly confidential meeting with the Turkish ambassador. What are you doing out here? Shouldn't you be with Shoscombe Prince?
Oh, there's no need for me to worry, Doctor. Not with Sir Robert around. He won't let him out of his sight for 10 seconds. He's put everything he possesses on that horse, and a good deal that he doesn't.
He must be a very anxious man.
Well, if he isn't letting it show. He's cool as a cucumber, he is. Ever since you and Mr. Holmes had your little encounter with him in the crypt, he's been a changed man. Courteous, considerate.
He has good reason to be. He was lucky to be let off the hook. Mind you, if that young woman hadn't put in a word for him...
What woman?
Mrs. Norlet.
Mrs. Norlet? Oh, so that's the game now, is it?
I don't follow you.
Well, I suppose he thinks that by passing her off as that fellow's wife, no one will raise an eyebrow at her staying on at Shoscombe Old Place. She's still plain Carrie Evans. And he's Evans, too, her brother. He's been sponging off her for years.
Oh, a very edifying specimen of humanity.
Well, I'd better be getting back to Shoscombe Prince. Not long to go now.
And Sir Robert's creditors, are they holding off?
Until the race is over. After all, it's in their interest. If the Prince wins, they'll get their money back. So they'll be cheering him on with the rest of us.
Good luck to you all, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Doctor.
Hey, you look like a man who knows what's what.
I beg your pardon?
Want a tip?
A tip?
Yeah, it's a sure thing.
Look, just run along, will you?
Oh, it's a dead cert. Come on, come round. They cost you a guinea.
Kindly leave me alone.
You can't lose. You can stake your Warburton pension on him.
Good Lord. Is that you, Holmes? I thought you were with the Turkish ambassador.
I thought that my time might be better employed down here. I'm keeping a wary eye on Sir Robert, making sure that he plays the game.
How do you mean?
Well, there are 100 ways in which a man can influence the course of a race if he puts his mind to it. If by any chance Sir Robert does win this race, I want to be certain that he does so fairly and squarely. Hence, my disguise.
It certainly took me in. And what have you found out?
Oh, that Sir Robert is the soul of honour. To test him, I even ventured to put a little temptation in his way myself, and suggested a few subtle ways by which the performance of some of his keenest rivals might be impaired.
And how did he react?
I was lucky to escape the fate he once handed out to Sam Brewer, the Norbiton horsewhip.
The race is about to begin.
I must get rid of my little disguise. I'll see you after the race, in the winner's enclosure.
Shoscombe Prince! Come on, old boy! Yes! You can do it! That's it! In off the rails! Yes! Come on! Come on! Shoscombe Prince! Come on! Yeah! Oh, you lovely old nag.
Well, Sir Robert, I could have wished for no other outcome. You won as you deserve to win.
I deserve nothing, Mr. Holmes. I was lucky to be able to run the horse at all.
And now at last, you can be free of your creditors.
With £80,000 in my pocket, I shall be able to do better than that. And the first thing I shall do is to erect a suitable memorial to my dear sister.
You'll have to face an inquest before that, Sir Robert. But I trust I'll be able to persuade the police and the coroner to take a lenient view of the matter.
I cannot express my gratitude, Mr. Holmes.
And the worst you can expect will probably be a mild censure for delaying to register your sister's decease.
And that's considerably better than I deserve. Goodbye, Mr. Holmes. Goodbye, Doctor.
Goodbye, Sir Robert. And congratulations. It was a fine race.
Thank you, Doctor.
Norbiton. And now, Watson, I think we can take leave of these joyful scenes and return to the modest tranquility of 221B Baker Street.
Yes, of course. There is one little thing to be cleared up before we leave.
What is that?
I must collect my winnings.
In Shoscombe Old Place, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams, with Nicholas Le Prevot as John Mason and Donald Pickering as Sir Robert Norbiton. Paul Freeman was played by Desmond Llewellyn, Josiah Barnes by Jonathan Adams, Stevens by George Parsons, Carrie by Susanna Corbett, Norlett by Jonathan Keeble, and the Gypsy by Becky Hindley. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The violinist was Leonard Friedman. Shoscombe Old Place was dramatized for radio by Michael Bakewell and directed by Enid Williams.